Hey, Pat, thanks for coming over to film some ReVisited.
Yeah, man, no problem. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. So I was in this random storage closet in my basement I've never been in before in my entire life. And look what I found.
Oh, Evil Dead. Sweet. We should watch that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right?
Yeah, no way we'll start a new video series for it.
Definitely not. The ultimate experience in grueling terror. The Evil Dead. Welcome back to Entertainment Rebooted and a new series, Cinema Revisited, The Evil Dead, where we're going to be watching all of the Evil Dead movies, both the original trilogy and the two standalone movies afterwards. I am joined, of course, by my co-host, Pat, the Great and Overpowered. So yeah, it's kind of a new series that we're doing. So we started this off. We were going to watch The Evil Dead for ReVisited. And just after watching the movie, we kind of realized it doesn't really fit in with the stereotypical stuff that we've been watching for ReVisited.
It does not.
And I've never seen the series. A lot of people have recommended the series over time. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to, every other month, instead of doing a ReVisited, we're going to revisit the Evil Dead franchise. So this little mini offshoot of ReVisited.
Yes.
I know that Pat's really looking forward to it because, oh my gosh, I can't get this guy to stop recommending that we watch horror movies.
Yep.
That's just like his number one thing, man. It's
so happy.
Blood, gore, and abject terror.
Yep.
That's how people describe Pat.
Yep. Just, if it's not gory, it's not me.
Meanwhile, secretly in the back of his mind. And that's when Pat knew. He done messed up.
You're probably wondering how I got there. Record scratch.
Well, you see, I became friends with a self-described cinephile. And here I am, watching awful movies.
Yep.
Oh, well. Speaking of this movie, The Evil Dead, 1981. We're going to do a brief plot synopsis. We're going to get into the good, the bad, the ugly, the iconic, and then we might talk a little bit about perhaps what would we do in a modern take on this movie. That's classic ReVisited. Not franchise. We're not a franchise.
Schematic.
Yet. Schematic.
Blueprint.
Outline. Blueprint. Style.
Yeah.
Speaking of style, Pat, the plot, please.
Group of friends, possibly college age, going on a outdoor weekend. Remote Tennessee hills. They get a non-inhabited cabin that they're renting that's not been used for a while.
That's a very good deal. Like surprisingly cheap.
Yeah, super cheap.
Crazy cheap.
Yeah. It is two couples and one of the sisters of one of the guys.
Our main character, Ashley.
Yes, played by the amazing Bruce Campbell.
I wonder if he's going to be a recurring character.
I
it's
know.
a Sam Raimi movie. I mean,
yeah. Who knows?
Who knows?
Go to the cabin. You know, it's closed off, desolate. No one's really been there. It's kind of older. A little spooky. Some weird stuff starts happening when girl's sketching and her hand gets possessed and draws a book with a face on it. Start hearing creatures in the night. The girl wanders off in the night by herself because that's the greatest thing ever to do.
Well, before that, though, they find this really terrifying book.
Oh, right.
And a tape recording.
Yes, they go to the basement because it swung open.
Which obviously just definitely would do that.
Yeah.
They find a book that appears to be
bound in human flesh.
Let's pick that up.
And a tape recorder from an academic that was staying at the cottage.
that's been abandoned for a very long time and found in the cellar with this human flesh wrapped book in the cellar
shotgun.
opened by itself. Oh, and a shotgun.
And a shotgun and a ceremonial dagger with a really intricate bone handle.
All of these are screaming fun weekend with your friends.
Right? Like, forget about Spin the Bottle. Forget about, like, all the drinking games they're probably going to do.
Let's just...
Skin book.
Damn straight.
So they start playing the recording.
As one does.
He just talks about, I found this book in a ruin dig, and I brought it here so I could study it away from academia and society. And then he's like, it is an ancient Sumerian book about their death rites, along with their rituals for resurrection and to summon demons.
Let me read that out loud on the recording as dramatically as humanly possible.
Yes. He reads out this incantation. The girl that got her hand possessed starts screaming to shut it off. Tree branch smashes in, and then they stop. Then they all go to, like, bed. And she ends up wandering off into the woods by herself.
In the dark.
In the dark, without telling anyone. Without
Alone.
any weapon.
For no reason.
Yes.
Safety was not a priority.
Yes.
In her mind.
So she wanders into the woods, and the woods have ideas for her.
They're not good. They're not good thoughts.
No. They're not nice thoughts. She breaks free from the woods, runs back to the cabin, and is like, "Get me out of here, Ash! Get me out of here!" So Ash gets in the car, starts to drive away. They go to the bridge, and it has been destroyed.
Completely and totally isolating them in an unnatural way.
Yes. It's curled up like a hand. They go back to the cabin, and they're discussing how everything's weird, and they'd like to get out of there.
But they don't really know how to get out of there because
Yes.
it's dark.
And the bridge is gone,
So there might be a path around this cliff. Maybe.
but we don't know.
Yeah.
Then she's staring out the window and starts saying things.
She being the girl that ran off, Ash's sister.
Yes, correct, sorry.
Yeah. There are 3 women.
Yes. The other 2 aren't really super important yet.
Yet.
Yeah. She turns around and her face has gone like gray and ashen, and her eyes have turned white. And she's like, "Why have you awoken us from our slumber? You will all die.
One by
One." They get into a fight. She stabs one of the other girls in the ankle with a pencil.
And does she?
Yeah.
Ooh.
They eventually shove her into the basement and lock it.
The girl who was possessed, not the girl who had her ankle stabbed.
Yes.
In case you needed clarity.
Yeah.
I mean, I also would have shunned the girl who got stabbed in the ankle with a pencil. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, shame.
Shame.
How could you?
So, they're then thinking about, how are we gonna get out of here? How are we gonna get out of here? The girl who has been stabbed in the ankle is resting in a bed because her ankle got stabbed. The other girl is with them, and then she goes to go lay down. She gets taken through a window.
That's true. She gets taken through a window, and her boyfriend has the most nonchalant reaction
Yeah.
ever on
Like,
caught on film.
slowest reaction. Like,
And walking calmly, walking with like very little emotion. I mean, just death-curdling scream of your beloved girlfriend.
with glass crashing.
Yeah. Let's walk calmly
Yeah.
and collectedly and assess the situation. It appears as though my girlfriend is missing,
Yes.
and the window has been smashed in an inward fashion.
Yes.
That damn girlfriend of mine, she must have just
Pulled the glass in.
run off. No need to panic or worry.
He searches the bathroom where she attacks him. He backs up into the living room, and he's fighting with her, and she grabs a stick, grabs the ceremonial and a knife, and she's gonna stab him. He starts to cuts her wrist off with his knife. Then takes the ceremonial dagger and stabs her through the back.
Where she proceeds to gush blood and milk?
Yes. She collapses again, and he starts to stand up. And then she goes after him again with her other arm. And Ash has got an axe, but he's rage strike, but he's like, ah.
And he hides in a corner.
He hides in a corner. The other guy gets up, grabs the axe, and then dismembers her.
Mm-hmm.
Quite efficiently.
Almost as if he had practice.
Yeah, this is definitely not the first body he chopped up.
I'm just saying, that dude had like very little emotion, and he was awful handy with that axe.
Yeah.
I think that... Anyway.
Yeah. They bury her. Then the boy who just killed his girlfriend is like to Ash,
we need to bury her in the woods.
We need to get out of here. And Ash is like, we can't leave. Her ankle was stabbed. She can't walk with that. She can't stand with that. And he's like, we'll leave her until we can send somebody. He's actually like, no. And then he leaves on the gentleman who just buried his girlfriend leaves on his own through the woods with no weapon except for the knife he had.
I mean, when you're fleeing the scene and you're the biggest, baddest thing out there, are you really scared?
Yeah. He leaves. Ash goes to check on his girlfriend, looks at her ankle, and it just like goes
like just black veins, like straight up her leg.
She gets possessed.
This one does.
He backs out of the room, not wanting to deal with that, and is going to leave through the door when the other guy stumbles into him.
And he is not looking good.
He is
rough.
Beat up. He's got bones hanging out. He's got a branch through him.
It's like the trees had their intrusive thoughts take over again, but this time they had more thoughts of...
Stabby.
Like actually like breaking bones and...
Hurting
people.
Yeah.
Let's just say that the trees certainly were not gay.
Nope.
It's awful.
Yep. So he gets him over to the couch, and his possessed girlfriend sits in the door and starts singing in a child's voice. Very, yeah. He then tries to slap his girlfriend back to sanity.
Really showing some healthy tendencies.
Yeah. Then grabs a shotgun to shoot her.
As one does.
Doesn't end up shooting her because she switches back. Then his sister calls from the basement. Apparently she switched back. She didn't. She breaks through the floor and grabs him. The girlfriend switches back. He gets into a fight with the girlfriend. Ends up stabbing her with the ceremonial knife. Then goes and chains her down to a table and is about to dismember her with a chainsaw.
Decides against it. Tries to bury her
whole. Goes to grab a necklace that he got her from on top of the grave, and
hand comes out of grave, freshly buried.
They get into a fight. He ends up decapitating her with a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back inside because he's like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do now? He's still trying to take care of the other friend.
The basement cellar has been opened.
Yes. The other friend is dead. Then he's just kind of wandering. He grabs the shotgun and tries to secure all the doors.
Prepares to fight his way through the night.
Yep. Backs himself onto the door. It gets bust through. Friend on the inside stands up and starts attacking him.
It's 2-on-1.
Yep. The fleshbound book ends up near the fire and starts to smoke. And then he notices that they start to smoke. So he struggles and eventually gets the book thrown into the fire. And then it's morning.
And evil has been vanquished. Or has it?
Yes. Or has it?
We get a final shot of the camera flying through the woods, through the entire house, and into the screaming face of Ash. And that is the end of 1981's The Evil Dead.
So evil. So dead.
The good, the bad, the ugly, the iconic. Coming up next. Packed. What is the good of The Evil Dead 1981?
There is some really great film cinematography.
Oh, the cinematography is actually
Some
very good.
Magnificent shots. some pretty good visual effects then too for that time period. Mm-hmm. Like,
oh, you got some great practical effects.
Yeah.
They're also very creative. I agree with you. The good in this film is the cinematography. So we'll just have a conversation about that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they've got stop motion. They've got some claymation going on.
Oh yeah.
All the different things that he does with the lenses.
Yeah, the angles.
Yeah, the angles are amazing. The way that they lay out each shot.
Yeah,
it is a work of art, despite the cheap nature of the film. It is low budget.
Yes,
the cinematography is excellent.
It really enhances just everything that's happening through the film.
Yeah, definitely. It's very well shot. It is for the time period still kind of a work of art. It's very impressive. But yeah, like cinematography and the visuals are great. Oh, yeah. They're very good.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. How about the bad? Not necessarily like the thing that you warned people about, but kind of not like the best thing about this movie.
I mean, there's a few continuity errors that kind of like are a little obvious. There's a lot of just like they're not reacting like you'd feel like they'd react to.
Yeah. 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 Continuity can be a bit off. Sometimes when something lands on the ground, it's not quite where it appears that it should have been.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell when they've filmed something and then shot the next day or a different day.
Yeah.
So
sometimes the floor layout gets a little confusing.
That's true. From
the angles that they shoot.
Yeah, the house in and of itself doesn't seem to have much of a structure, like continuity-wise.
Yeah,
it can be kind of hard to tell where you're at. Mm-hmm. Anything else regarding continuity that stood out to you bad?
Not really. Like I said, it was just like kind of the continuity, and then some of the reactions didn't seem real. Mm-hmm. Like Ash's reactions usually seemed pretty real, like with the not sure what to do with the axe. She's like hesitating.
Well, she's our friend. Yeah.
But like the boyfriend's like such a calm and like nothing approach to the curdling, screaming, glass breaking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think personally the bad for me is the acting. The acting is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. A lot of the characters come off a little bit stiff.
Yeah.
Also the reactions and everything like that. There's not really a lot of realism. One thing is that Ash, Bruce Campbell's character, actually, he seems to be the most human.
He does.
As far as like the reactions are concerned. Because it's like the sister runs into the woods all by herself and she doesn't make a big deal about talking to people about it.
Yeah.
I understand that she's kind of already had a bad experience with Scott. Was it Scott?
Yeah,
was
Scott.
The other guy? Scott kind of belittled her, so maybe she wouldn't go to Scott. But Ash is her brother.
Yeah.
You'd think that, I heard something out in the woods. I'm a little scared. I should probably talk to Ash.
Yeah.
But instead she goes wandering off into the woods by herself. Nancy's just, she has a couple of lines that are interesting, but to be honest, she's kind of a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
And what was Scott's girlfriend's name? Sally was very much not really a contributing factor to the entire movie.
Yeah.
She really didn't do much. She didn't have much character.
She pretty much existed for that one fight.
Pretty much. And then Scott, he just did not seem to be there or care. Like he came off either like a soulless axe murderer.
Yeah, he was like completely disassociated from the reality. Like
he seemed out of it. He seemed unaware of things. Very little emotion, very little worry. No genuine empathy either. Like a lot of times he has a reaction. It's just like there's very little empathy.
Yeah.
So I would just say that the acting and some of the reactions and stuff would be bad. Yeah. Not necessarily ugly though. All right. How about ugly? What's something that you warn people about when it comes to this film? What's ugly about it?
trying to think of what I would really consider ugly. You know, like, there's not.
It's a pretty solid movie.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Like, if anything, it's not really the ugly, but like it's more of just warning. Like, it is pretty gory.
Yeah, I would say I would warn somebody ahead of time. Just if you're not really into gore,
Yeah.
there is a lot of gore.
Yeah.
And it can be excessive amounts of gore.
Yeah.
So I guess like a warn. It's not really necessarily ugly, but yeah, I mean, that's it. You'd probably want to warn people ahead of time, like, hey, it has a bit of gore to it.
Yeah, like a busted pipe shooting blood everywhere.
Yeah, literally. It's very in depth with the stabbing of the pencil in the ankle.
Oh yeah,
that is one of those scenes that I was like, oh, the cringe, and then the eyeballs. He sticks his fingers in it.
Or the tree branch.
Yeah, there is a lot of
there's
a lot of scenes in this movie that it's like intense. It gets very intense, and there is quite a bit of gore.
Like, it works with this movie, but like so it's not like ugly. It's just it's worth the warning.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, heads up, like a bit gory.
Yeah.
I would say like a warning that I would give people is it is very much a 1970s movie, and it is very low budget.
Yeah.
Just kind of having your expectations set. This very much comes off like a bit of like a college film student project more than a full-on production.
Yeah. I mean,
low budget 1970s horror.
Yeah.
That's the ugly, I guess, is just what can you do?
Yeah.
And it's not something that you can really fix about this film as far as the way that they shot it. And the only thing that would fix it is putting a budget behind it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing it would fix, and that's not the fault of the film.
Not at all.
But it is something I would say is, hey, just heads up.
Yeah.
It's 1970s, low budget horror.
Yeah.
All right, iconic. Why watch this movie? Why watch The Evil Dead?
I mean, the entire movie in and of itself is kind of iconic. It is referenced through multiple different medias.
Yeah.
It started its entire own franchise from this film.
Yeah. It has its own franchise. It launched the career of Sam Raimi as a director. Yeah. I agree with you. I think the film in and of itself is iconic enough. Is it the greatest film of all time? No, it's not. It's not greatness, but it is iconic in and of itself just because it's Sam Raimi. If you like Sam Raimi and you want to kind of see like where his roots are, you can kind of see that this is like a passion project of his.
Oh yeah,
and his style is in it for sure. It's pretty well put together. It has its issues. Is it? Yeah, like I said, it's not the greatest film. It's not the greatest film. It's pretty solid. It's good though. It is pretty solid. Would not recommend for children.
No.
Maybe teenagers. Like, a teenager who is showing like interest in the horror genre.
Yes. You know the ones. Everybody knows those kids. It's not a phase. It's not a phase, Dad. Jeez.
Phase, Mom. Anyway, how about this? Would you recommend this film?
Oh, yeah, I would totally recommend it.
All right. Like, to who? Who would you recommend it to, and how much would you recommend it?
You know, I would recommend it to just about anyone. Like, there's a few people, like, they just watch, like, they only watch, like, funny movies, you know? I wouldn't really recommend it to them, but, like, anyone who's into, like, a kind of offbeat.
Yeah. Yeah, I would recommend it. If you're a fan of Sam Raimi and you haven't seen it, definitely see it. If you're a fan of horror, I think this is one of those movies that it did have a bit of an impact on the horror industry. Yeah. If you're a fan of cinema in general, there is quite a bit to it that I think you would get a kick out of, just as far as like cinematography, and you kind of see, and it's fun watching it as somebody who just watches a lot of movies, just kind of thinking through how they do certain shots. What they're doing as far as the story is concerned. So if you're a fan of film and studying film, this is one of those that's pretty fun. Also, if you just like something that's kind of irreverent horror. I definitely, if you are into comedy and horror comedy, Evil Dead, this one really isn't a horror comedy. It's campy,
It's campy.
but it's not like outright comedy.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any moment in there that we were outright laughing that wasn't kind of intended to be laughed at.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, we were more just laughing about how they handled the situation.
Well, yeah, or you know, we're making observations.
Yeah.
And laughing at those. That's part of the reason that this didn't end up on the ReVisited.
Yeah.
Is because after watching the movie, we're like, this isn't really a B movie in the sense of like cocaine, werewolf, and
Oh God, no.
yeah, awful film, or you know, Iron Skies or anything like that. It just it does not fit into that. It's just this is a low budget horror movie.
Yeah.
So it's not really a B movie other than its budget's low.
Yeah.
So I would recommend it for sure. All right, let's say modern audiences. What would you do to update this for modern audience?
You know, I still like the remote cabin.
Yeah,
Like
that's still usable, and you eliminate a lot of modern day conveniences and technologies and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of cabins you go out far enough. They are not in satellite, not in radio.
They're not in range of the phones, cell phones.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Telephone, cell phone,
Yeah.
ringlings. Yeah. Like they're going out for like a fall break of like cramming, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
Like-
they're just getting done with finals, or
Yeah.
maybe it's just like a fall break, and instead of going home for Thanksgiving, they decided, let's go and party up at this
Yeah.
remote cabin, and it's cheap. We're college students, we can't afford
Yeah.
anything. So yeah, I would definitely take that. The premise overall still works. Like,
Yeah.
that is one thing about being up in the mountains. You can still get away with it. In fact, the only thing that you'd have to add is you'd have to add one or two lines where they're trying to be on their phones and
Yeah.
oh, there's not really any range. Maybe the GPS isn't working because it's like, oh, your phone's not working. We didn't pack a Garmin because who has a satellite GPS?
Yeah. No.
You know. So you could still have that premise.
Yeah.
All right. How else would you modernize it?
The only thing is like the old bridge, like at this, there's just not a lot of those bridges. If anything, you could do like a drawbridge or like a, you know, like one of those.
Well, maybe, but you'd have to go across a creek that needed one of those.
True.
There are old bridges. I think
Yeah.
I think the bridge still would work. Mountains are kind of
Weird.
well, they can be. I mean, you're up. It's pretty remote. It's hard to get a lot of technology to modernize it and update it. So
Okay.
an old rickety bridge isn't too out of the line of possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um.
It is odd that the house is the only thing on the other side of this, like, professionally put together bridge.
Yeah, I would say maybe it's like kind of like a cabin, but like maybe it's like a complex,
You could do a complex.
Like
Maybe
it-
it's like a former.
like an older complex. Like they're still kind of getting it back up and running. You know, doing some of the cabins that are still habitable.
Could be from like an old mine.
Yeah.
Old mine town.
Yeah.
And it's just this one cabin's been kept up, but the entire town's kind of left.
Yeah.
That's possible. I think a thing that I would do is instead of it being the bridge being out, I would be like an unnatural amount of trees and debris have clogged the road, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it until the end of the night.
Okay.
And they went to the mountains in a car,
Yeah.
kind of like they did.
Yeah.
But being in like a Toyota Camry or something like that,
Yeah.
if you're in a regular car, sure, I can take some dirt roads, but
Yeah.
man, why didn't we take the truck? Oh, it's gas mileage, man.
Yeah.
We don't have any money. Why do you think we took the cheap one?
Yeah.
Why do you think we took this cheap cabin in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
That could work as a premise. I think I would go with unnatural amounts of debris in the road that they can't go out, and they're not willing to venture on this like odd trail in the car.
Yeah.
But bridge, former complex, coal mine, that could work too.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, outside of that, really, it's just update some graphics.
Yeah. Update some graphics.
You can still do the tape recorder. honestly, if the house has been abandoned that long,
Yeah.
you can still do a tape recorder. You can still have them discover this book. Kids are stupid.
Oh yeah.
So playing a cassette tape, I think that I would,
they could instead of a tape recorder, video cam.
could be a camcorder.
Yeah, they come across like a old camcorder and like a projector. Or like a VHS.
Or a DVD even.
Oh yeah.
They could have a recording of a DVD and they're just, oh shoot, I forgot to charge the laptop.
Yeah.
And all they have is like an old DVD player, VHS player, and they put that in and that's what it is. And I'd put it where it's like probably around the time that he's doing the seance or something. And they don't know how to stop the tape, but they actually do a little bit of effort, because it is kind of creepy. It's like, I don't want him reading from this book on a tape.
Yeah, it could be like kind of, when they do like the here's what he is, and then it just like cuts, like the film like was like corrupted, and it just jumps to the next readable section.
Right, and they're just kind of like in shock. They're just like listening. They're like, that's super creepy, and then it just like breaks, and it shows them like actually doing it, and he's already.
Yeah, and like
oh crap, get it out.
And like they're trying to get to eject, but like it's not ejecting. Eventually, they just like pull the entire thing out.
Yeah, but at that point, they've already said the thing. Or they're in shock because they're just listening to it. They're like, this is like a really weird tape. And then somebody, like, while he's in the middle of doing like he's almost done with it, maybe they'd notice and they just stop and they're like, wait a second, that's the fireplace. That's here.
Yeah.
It could be something like that. Where it's like, it's not a low budget horror movie. It's actually like, this is creepy.
Yeah, like they recognize it as, oh wait, that was here. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, no, something's up or something like that. Maybe there's like something freaks them out enough that they actually stop it. And outside of that, I mean, the film probably would stand up for what it is. You update the graphics, you update the visuals.
Yeah.
Better acting, better budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a better budget, you're not going to have a lot of the camera issues that you do. But you could also have fun filming it like kind of a remake.
Yeah.
Full on. I'm curious to see what the remake actually looks like. The 2013 one.
Yeah.
And now we're going to watch it. Cinema Revisited Evil Dead, also known as John Makes Pat Watch Horror Movies.
Yep. I'm in for it.
Anyway, you have any other thoughts?
Nope, I think I've mined enough.
Yeah, I have too. It's fun watching it.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those movies I watched it a while ago, so rewatching it now, I think I appreciate it more the second viewing. It's been so long since I've seen it. So, but yeah, overall fun experience. If you like movies in general, you probably possibly potentially like this channel. I hope. We like to watch old movies and revisit them. We like watching crappy movies, kind of making fun of them a little bit, and we also watch new movies as they come out if they interest us. It is hard lately to go to a movie every single week, but we try our best. So yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about Evil Dead 1981? Is it one of your favorite horror movies of all time? Are there other horror movies or series that you would like us to do on the channel? Let us know. Otherwise, leave us a like if you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share us with your friends if they like movies. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bienvenido.